Hey y'all, how's it going? I am Joy, and that is Steve, and we are back with the second year in a row of doing the Black Monday hot seat coaching carousel, coaching casualties, whatever you want to call it,
True.
review video.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's starting to become a new tradition with us there.
Yeah, I really like it. I like having like different variety to our NFL content because of course we do the verses, but I also just like kind of discussing football in general, and I'm hoping that we can do more stuff going forward and have another
True.
NFL project idea that might be fun, but I don't know if it's going to actually go well.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we can actually get more NFL content on the channel. I think that'd be really, really cool. So
Yeah. So if everybody who likes this air thing, please give us a like there on the
yeah,
video.
that's a really good measure to kind of know where things are going. As creators, we like to see the engagement for me anyway, more than so than the likes. Like I want to know what you guys think of it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the view duration. If you guys actually enjoy what we're doing, then let us know.
Mm-hmm.
But so for this year, Steve and I both have compiled lists, and then we just kind of put them together
Mm-hmm.
into one big one. So we have 14 different coaches to talk about.
Okay.
So it should be interesting. Some of them are going to be more debate worthy than others.
True.
Some are more surprising than others.
Yeah.
So without any further ado, if you are ready.
I am good to go.
All right, so the way that I basically ordered this, minus a couple of honorable mentions, is from worst to best.
Mm-hmm.
So up first we have Matt Eberflus out of Chicago. Uh,
Oh,
the Bears will be having either the number one pick or the number two pick, depending on how this weekend's games go.
true.
So I
There.
figured that would be a good place to start.
Yeah, as we discussed in our versus video there, which you hopefully you saw recently there. I predicted that the Bears would end up with the number one pick there,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, we both did, unfortunately. I didn't
yeah,
realize that the Bears were really as bad as they were this year. That was kind of what was kind of
true,
crazy to me. Like, I knew they were bad, but I didn't know they were that bad, you know?
true. Uh, but with me there, I'm going to say the Bears coaches probably done that after Sunday there.
You know, it wouldn't surprise me, and I typically hate doing a one and done season for coaches,
Hmm.
but we've already seen that happen this year with Denver letting go of Hackett
Hmm.
mid-season, or
True,
not well, not mid, but letting go of Hackett during the season.
true.
The only interesting thing I will say about this one is that the Bears president Ted Phillips is retiring. Now,
True.
typically, when a president retires or a GM leaves or what have you, they would want to bring in their own guys.
Yeah.
So they'd want to hire their own people. And in doing so, this might actually give Matt Eberflus an extra year because the
Cool.
new president would want one of their own guys next year because they wouldn't have
Yeah.
time to, you know, find somebody
Exactly.
in the off season here. So maybe, but at the same time, if they can find another president quickly, then he might just like have a fire sale and
True.
completely redo it.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure on this one.
Yeah.
I could see it going either way.
Yeah.
I do think that with the team that they have,
Yeah.
it wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense
Yeah.
to fire him already because they do have
True.
Fields and he's turning into some kind of QB
Yeah.
like
He's
Lamar Jackson light.
doing good there. As long as you get a team up in front of him, he'll probably do well there. No offense, Joy.
Well, no, none taken. I do think that he's a better running back than a quarterback right now,
True.
but if you can get pieces around him and someone that
Yeah.
he can actually throw the ball to, then maybe
Hmm.
he actually wouldn't have to run all the
Yeah.
darn time
Yeah.
because they just don't have a team.
Yeah. And on top of that, there somebody do some sort of coaching to help direct his offensive plays.
Right, yeah. I mean, if you're going to get an offensive minded coach, then that would be very helpful. It all depends on like what kind of style you're gonna want on your team. I
Mm-hmm.
see Chicago as more of a defensive team historically speaking. So I don't know
Sure.
if they're going to go out and try to get an offensive mind or a defensive mind, but that's to be decided by the new president that's going in. So there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of stuff that's up in the air, I think, with
Yeah. Sure.
Mr. Eberfluss, which is a
Right.
really hard name to say. So I'd be fine with getting rid of him just for that reason alone, to be fair.
Yeah.
But so I mean, we're basically in agreement, but I'm a little more on the fence because it all depends on what the brass is going to do.
Sure.
So now moving up the draft order, potentially, we have Lovie Smith out of Houston, who it would be another one and done coach should they decide to part ways
Mm-hmm.
already. What's your take
Sure.
on this one?
Uh, I would say they're. I would give them a second season there to prove the team there. All they need there in the draft is get get a better quarterback than Davis Mills is right now there, and they could make some improvement in 2023.
Personally, I think that they need a lot more than just a better QB. They don't really have anything on that team talent wise that they can really say is a lock. Now, I will
Mm-hmm.
say that Lovie Smith didn't really have a whole lot to work with when he first got there.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that he should have another shot to kind of build the team in his way.
True.
Because he has, a very seasoned veteran coach. His record isn't that great,
Mm-hmm.
um, but he's also not exactly horrible
Yeah.
if he
It
actually
wasn't
has
that
people to work with. So
exactly.
I personally would give him another shot. I
Yeah.
also wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't, because that seems to kind of be Houston's way of being a dumpster fire. They
Mm-hmm.
have
True.
been pretty much since the Bill O'Brien era.
Yeah.
It's just been like one kind of fail after another. So I'm
True.
hoping that this time they don't abandon ship too early
No.
and they can
You
actually
know.
kind of ride the storm out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what they do there. But
True.
I agree with you. I think that he deserves a shot to actually see what he can do
Yeah.
building his own team.
True. And on top of that, they'll have a whole pile of draft picks there coming up this year. Especially not only their own, they got a couple more from Cleveland from
Yeah,
when
exactly, exactly. They
they
have
traded you
two.
know who.
Oh, yeah, no means no. They have two draft picks in the first round, one from themselves and one from the Browns. So
Yeah.
they can go out there and get some decent talent. Good
Mm-hmm.
QB early, some kind of like a lights out wide receiver to help that QB,
Yeah.
something like that. So I think they'll be okay in
Yeah.
2023, especially in that
Mm-hmm.
division, because that division's not exactly that strong.
Yeah.
So they should be fine.
Yeah.
All right, next we are going over to the NFC West and talking about Cliff Kingsbury out of Arizona.
Yeah. I think he's pretty much done there because he had nothing this year, and on top of that, JJ Watt's pretty much calling it a career there, and Kyler Murray won't be available till mid-season of 2023. On top of that,
Yeah, I do think though that like I I don't know. I can't say that we're gonna fire Kingsbury because of this season in particular,
mm-hmm.
because this season was riddled with injury, and you can't really
Mm-hmm.
blame the coach for that. He
Yeah.
didn't have any of his top players out there. D Hop was out for a while with other
Mm-hmm.
non-injury related things. Kyler
Mm-hmm.
Murray was on and off most of the year.
Yeah.
So I would have to look at his entire coaching record, and I think that it would be time to move on from this era because he hasn't really
True.
done a whole lot in the way of progression for you.
Mm-hmm.
My only question there then is, what do you do going forward to have somebody come in and work with someone like Kyler Murray,
True.
who's going to be injured half the year? The backups are sketch.
True.
Your defense is going to be missing out on one of your better veteran presences,
Mm-hmm.
and you need someone who's going to be able to coach with the style of play that Murray is going to give you. So I
Yeah.
don't really know where they go from here, but I do agree that they have to kind of move on from Kingsbury.
True.
All right, now we're kind of dipping into the rumor mill more so than their on the field performances. We have Sean McVay out of LA. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
rumor here has been a long-standing rumor since they won the Super Bowl last year. He was
Mm-hmm.
going to leave coaching after this year and go to television.
Yeah,
So,
that's the rumor.
yeah, that is the rumor. I think that's possible, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that it's likely.
Yeah. For me, there, I think he'll be safe for another season there. Some call McVay there the quarterback whisperer because he saw what he did for Matt Stafford and more recently with Baker Mayfield there.
I I don't think I could ever call Sean McVay some like magical quarterback whisperer
Mm-hmm.
because the two quarterbacks that he won with have also won elsewhere and have
Sure.
been proven as a very good QB. Now,
Mm-hmm.
one could say that Matt Stafford hasn't won the big one prior to getting here, but that doesn't
Sure.
take away how good of a player he was or his stats or his output. And then Baker Mayfield, we all seen what he did in Cleveland before getting unceremoniously dumped.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
For you know.
yeah, for you know who, and a decision that some people would question in
Mm-hmm.
hindsight and in foresight, to be fair. But I don't, I can't credit Sean McVay for the successes of Mayfield and Stafford because they were already successful without him. Now, he was also successful with Jared Goff. So he's, when you give him a good team and a good QB, of course he can be successful. I don't see him leaving until all of the talent also leaves. Like when Aaron Donald retires, when Cooper Kupp goes somewhere else, when Matthew Stafford retires, then I can see McVay hanging it up just so he doesn't have to go through a rebuild. Because I don't
Sure.
think that Sean McVay is a rebuild kind of guy. I don't think
No.
he's built for that.
No.
So I don't see him leaving now, but in a few years, I can see him easily retiring
Mm-hmm.
for greener pastures and safer pastures.
True.
So this was kind of just a rumor mill, but I don't really think it's going to happen.
Yeah. No.
Next up, we have Josh McDaniels out of Vegas, who are conveniently playing as we record
Yeah.
and
And they're
currently
losing
getting their
there.
booties slapped. So,
Yeah. Yeah. But I think he's that's going to shock it. Some Raiders fans. So I'm going to say he's pretty much done there. As far as I'm concerned, he was done when he benched Derek Carr.
hmm, that's interesting. That's really interesting. I think it's the other way around. I think that the organization is siding with the coach over the player, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that Derek Carr is done in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh McDaniels is going to go and try to get his own guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to have like a Josh McDaniels in Denver kind of situation where he's going to get somebody not Tim Tebow esque,
Mm-hmm.
but it's going to be a similar situation, I feel, where he's going to bring his own guy in. It'll work for a little while, and then it'll all of a sudden stop working. And then he's going to get fired and probably go back to New England
Mm-hmm.
again. So I don't know. I don't think that he'll get fired this year. I do question the move of Derek
Mm-hmm.
Carr, but you know, Derek Carr wasn't going to stay on under Josh McDaniels anyway, because he's not
No.
Josh McDaniels' guy.
No.
So I see a huge turnover of players
Mm-hmm.
for the Raiders, but I think that the coach will remain because that's going to be the Davis hire. And so
Yeah.
he's safe. He's going to be safe until he's really, really stupid and coaches himself out of the
True.
job.
True.
So I disagree with you on that one, but I do kind of understand where you're coming from
True.
because I can see it. Next up, we have a familiar face to our Black Monday predictions with Arthur Smith out of Atlanta. He was also on the list last year.
True.
So 2 years in a row, he was obviously kept on. So
Yeah.
what say you for this one?
Uh, the Falcons lately have been a rebuilding team there past couple of years there.
Hmm.
What question is, has he earned enough to maybe stay on another season? And by the skin of his teeth, I'm going to say he might stay on for at least one more season there.
Yeah, I think so. I think that next year is his prove it year.
Hmm.
Um, because when he came in, you still had Matt Ryan. And then when you traded
Yeah.
him away, he was supposed to be the problem, right? So you traded
Hmm.
him, and now Arthur Smith has his own QB with Desmond Ritter. So next
Hmm.
year is either we get close and we actually do something, or you have to go, I think.
Hmm. Maybe you know.
Look, I know it's a bird team, but now is not the time. You're in bed. Anyway, I think that Arthur Smith stays for another year, and then if he
Hmm.
does well, he can stay on going forward, but
Hmm.
he has to do really well in order to save his job.
Sure.
So now I want to talk about a couple of honorable mentions that I just kind of think would be interesting.
Hmm.
What about Steve Wilkes in Carolina? Do we think that he's coached himself into a full time position with the team, or are they going to still look elsewhere after firing
Uh,
Matt Rule?
I think there's probably going to be a little bit of a coaching change there because rumors. One rumor I heard is that they're talking to Michigan head coach there, Harbaugh there about the vacant job there.
I did hear that as well. Harbaugh has enough problems right now with Michigan and all of the violations that they're currently
Hmm.
investigating him for.
Hmm.
So I could see him running from college and going back to the NFL just to escape the violations and then
Sure,
leave Michigan to have to deal with it all. It
sure.
kind of seems like the thing to do. So I can see that, but personally, if I'm Carolina, I would open up a coaching interview just to see what's out there and who can come in. But I
Hmm.
do think that Steve Wilkes kind of turned the team around a little bit this year. I mean, they were
Sure.
one or two plays away from winning the division. Now the
Yeah.
division is very weak, of course, but
Hmm.
still, you went from nothing under Matt Rule to
Hmm.
nearly winning your division under Steve Wilkes. So
True.
personally, I would give him that shot. The players personally seem to like him.
Hmm.
He's certainly turned things around a little bit. So I would give him a shot at it, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Harbaugh runs from college and comes back to the NFL again. I
Yeah.
don't want him to because I do think that he's doing good things, violations aside,
Hmm.
from Michigan, but
Hmm.
I can see it. You know, there's always that draw to the next big thing
Hmm.
for both sides. Harbaugh going to the NFL and then Carolina
Hmm.
getting a name.
True.
And then staying in the South, we may as well just cover every team from that horrid division. What about Todd Bowles in Tampa? Now, I know that a
True.
lot of that is going to depend on what Brady's going to do, because
True.
pretty much where Brady goes, the team goes.
True.
So, what do you think about this one? Personally, I don't think that he was the right fit for the coaching position
Yeah.
from the get go.
You're right there. But as far as I'm concerned, it would depend on what Brady does in the off season. If he if he wants to stay there, then I could see him staying there. But if he moves on to a different team, then or Brady retires, then I could see him stepping down there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know because I think they signed him to a multi-year deal.
Hmm.
So, I mean, unless you're gonna have a buyout option, you're kind of
Hmm.
stuck with them for a little bit. And
Uh,
if Brady leaves, which I personally see him doing, then it would give Bowles a chance to kind of coach without the megastar, and maybe it will be Tampa Blaine
hmm.
time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. With his history in the Jets, I don't think that he was ever a good head coach. I think he can coordinate just fine,
True.
but I don't see him as a head coach material, and so I was really kind of questioning their decision. But I thought it was at least an interesting name to add in because I wasn't sure kind of where you stood on that. I know Brady is, the catalyst for all of the changes in Tampa, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so back to the regular list that we drummed up. We have Dennis Allen out of New Orleans.
Yeah. But this he's trying to live up to the being the next coach there after Sean Payton left there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but makes you wonder if he he has earned enough to keep his job there, or this, do the Saints still miss Sean Payton there? Or
I think they definitely still miss Sean Payton.
mm-hmm,
And honestly, what I would love to see happen
no,
is that Sean Payton and his quarterback friend that he's been
mm-hmm,
talking about shopping around with, they
sure,
both go to New Orleans
yeah,
and
but
they just do the whole thing all over
yeah,
again.
but the latest rumor I hear from ESPN tonight there is that Sean Payton might be in talks with the Denver Broncos about their vacant head coaching job.
Yeah, Denver has been granted permission from the Saints to talk to Sean Payton, but like we discussed earlier, just because the Saints said that they could talk to him doesn't mean that Sean Payton is going to want the job.
Mm-hmm,
Um, I do see him working with Russell Wilson better than I can see him working with Kyler Murray, because
mm-hmm,
Russell Wilson is a more Sean Payton esque QB.
sure,
Because he is, he has a good pocket presence. He runs when he needs to, not when he can. Um, so I don't know. I don't really think that Denver is a very lucrative job opening as a coach because you don't really
sure,
have anything to work with. And so if Sean Payton does go to Denver, I think it'll be heavily
mm-hmm,
money motivated
sure,
rather than I'm going to win this motivated.
sure,
And I think it makes more sense to go back to New Orleans, personally speaking.
yeah,
You took a break. You did your TV thing. You did
mm-hmm,
well. I like watching you.
mm-hmm,
But when you want to go back to coaching, you already have your deal with New Orleans still
true,
from before. I mean, they still have your
yeah,
rights. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had to grant permission to
true,
Denver. So
yeah,
I think that going there makes more sense. Um, under under Sean Payton, I believe Jameis Winston actually played fairly well.
true,
So if you don't bring mystery QB with
mm-hmm,
you, then at least you
yeah,
know that you can actually work with the QB that is there. And all
yeah,
of the players like you, all the players miss you. You're very seasoned in the area, so
true,
that'd be a lot better.
yeah,
Unfortunately, this would mean that Dennis Allen would have to go.
yeah,
Um,
unfortunately,
yeah, and now I don't think that the team was absolutely horrible this year.
true,
To be
there,
fair,
yeah,
I think that it
there,
was very back
there,
and forth. Like if a couple of games went the other way, then we'd be having a completely different conversation.
true,
And they were
there, yeah,
fairly close games.
true, and they have two good quarterbacks in James Winston and Taysom Hill.
I still hesitate to call Taysom Hill a quarterback, to be
Mm-hmm,
fair.
yeah,
He's a tremendous football player,
yeah,
but he lacks the finesse that a quarterback needs to be great.
mm-hmm.
Now, if they're high, I know. Look, I'm sorry. It's my opinion. Shut up. I
Daniel disagrees with you.
apparently he does, but you know, Taysom Hill needs a good veteran presence to take him under his wing and teach him the finer art of being a quarterback. Because the
Mm-hmm,
kid has a cannon for an arm, and he's very agile, so he can run when he needs to. He's
sure,
like the perfect little utility player, and I love that. But
mm-hmm,
I don't know. Their QB is a little bit in the air for me. Like
yeah,
their entire position is so wishy washy that
mm-hmm,
until you get a franchise QB that you can actually build the team around,
mm-hmm,
I think they're going to be a wishy washy team. Like Dallas was for so long,
yeah.
8-8, 7-9 for for a few years. Okay, Apparently, Dino says that Dennis Allen stays. We'll see. Um,
When
Troll.
go with the bird.
Yeah, yeah. When in doubt, go with the bird. But Nita reminds you that during our Versus series, he was wrong when he took the Cardinals over the Seahawks. So
True.
agree with him at your own discretion. Moving on, we have another surprising entrant with Mike Vrabel, seen here challenging the addition of him to the list. Why did you think Mike Vrabel would be on the chopping block?
Ooh, because of major losses coming down the stretch there, and might end up losing the division tonight to Jacksonville.
That is very true. This year was not good to them. Derrick Henry didn't perform as the king that we know him to be. Some
True.
of that was because of injuries. Some of that was just because of
Yeah.
getting smacked in the face by a
True.
really strong defense. A lot of it was because the former GM of the Titans traded away your stud receiver, which made
Mm-hmm.
you one
True.
dimensional all year long.
True.
And so I think that's the problem. I think that if you go out and you get another receiver
Mm-hmm.
that can assist in Malik Willis era, or going
Mm-hmm.
out and getting another QB like a Taylor Heineke or
Yeah.
someone like that,
Yeah.
then maybe it'd be a little bit different. I think that Mike Vrabel is too good of a coach to lose his job because one season didn't go his way.
True. True.
Um, Especially like we were talking about with Lovie Smith, this division is pretty much always up for grabs.
True.
Especially now because we don't know what's going on with Indy either.
Yeah.
We don't know who's going to be their coach.
Yeah.
So the
Exactly.
South is going to be really interesting, and I think you need a passionate, steady hand to guide it, and I think Mike Vrabel would be that guy.
Mm-hmm. True. So I guess he's going to be on the keeper pile.
Yeah, I think that he's safe, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
again, they are going to be looking for another GM. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe that GM doesn't like Mike Vrabel and wants his own guy in place.
True.
You never really know, but I think that whoever comes in is going to have to deal with it for now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't
True.
see Mike Vrabel going anywhere.
True.
Now we go ahead and move on to the AFC North and discuss once again a returning face, Kevin Stefanski, out of Cleveland.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, for me, they didn't really help him any when they went out and got No Means No,
Mm-hmm.
because
True.
No Means No didn't play for 12 weeks.
True.
So, you know, Kevin Stefanski didn't really have that steady QB under
Well,
center.
true. And they had Jacoby Brissett there who had some good games there.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, for me, I think that they would be having a better record had they continued with Jacoby Brissett instead of bringing in No Means No,
Yeah.
because No Means No had a lot of field rust, and it still doesn't seem like he's shaking it.
Yeah.
To be fair,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Stefanski is stuck with it now,
Mm-hmm.
so he needs to be able to win with this guy.
True.
Now, if he can't win with him next year, then
Mm-hmm.
maybe we have some things to think about. But
Exactly.
you need to give time for this regime and this unit to actually work because
True.
it's never been a full unit.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that the team has a lot of talent. You have Amani Cooper, you have Nick Chubb, you have Miles Garrett on that
True.
defense.
True.
So you have all the pieces in place
True.
to get back to where you were when Baker Mayfield was your QB,
True.
and actually having a shot at winning the division.
Yeah.
So I don't think that Stefanski is at risk this year, but
No.
it will be interesting to see how he's able to work with the new QB
True.
next year.
True. We'll put him on the keeping pile.
Yeah. So Ron Rivera is next, and y'all know how I feel about Ron
True.
Rivera's coaching decisions this year. So I'll let you have the floor for this one. What do you think
True.
is going to happen in
True.
Washington's case?
As far as I'm concerned, when the Commanders benched Taylor Heineke for what's his name there,
Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he
Carson, what's
lost.
your name?
Yeah, he Rivera just lost all all the team in the room there, their confidence there, and
Yeah.
cost them a playoff spot there.
Well, and that was the funny thing is that he didn't even know that it was costing them a playoff spot because he didn't know that they were still in contention for the playoffs.
Hmm.
Which, I mean, that alone should make you question his returning. But
Hmm.
I was questioning the decision when they went out and signed Carson Wentz
True.
because you already have your starter and you just didn't see it. So for me, I don't think that he'll get fired per se,
Hmm.
but I do think that he should retire.
True.
I mean,
Yeah,
there was the
but
whole health thing before, and now you're just making like really questionable decisions. So I
yeah,
think retiring would be a much more honorable way to handle this.
yeah. But if if he doesn't retire, I think he's pretty much done in Washington. That's my opinion. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really want to agree, but I think I have to. Um, I like Ron Rivera as a dude, but you didn't really. I don't know. I don't think that you saved yourself this year.
Yeah, you don't inspire confidence.
Yeah, exactly. And if you lose the team in any way, then you are kind of out.
Hmm.
Next up, we have two surprises to finish this list off, and they are added purely by the rumor mill articles that we all see online all the time. First up, we have John Harbaugh, seen here looking stunned that he is actually on the list. I don't see him going anywhere either,
No.
but I do think that it's at least something to kind of consider. Um, they've been
Hmm.
floundering most of the year.
Yeah, sure. But with me there, I say he's going to stay another season.
Oh yeah, I agree. I don't see him going anywhere until he chooses to retire and walk away from Baltimore personally.
True.
He's I think he's only head coached for Baltimore, if I'm not mistaken.
True. He led
So
into a Super Bowl.
yeah, exactly. He's very seasoned. He's a veteran coach, and I
Hmm.
think if you rebuild that defense, then they'll be fine going forward. But right now, they're just really weak on that side of the ball,
Hmm.
and offensively as well. To be fair,
Yeah.
you need some more weapons around Lamar Jackson, so Lamar Jackson doesn't have to do everything.
True.
Which kind of means that you can't afford to pay him the contract that he wants. So that you
Yeah.
can actually
True.
afford to go and get those pieces.
Yeah.
But
That.
that's a whole other
Yeah.
topic.
That's a red herring in the room there.
Yeah, that is a big to do that they need to figure out what they're doing.
Yeah.
But one way or the other, Lamar or no Lamar, I
Hmm.
trust in John Harbaugh to stay.
Hmm.
And then finally, Mike McDaniel, who is doing the research and very confused as to exactly how he's on this list to begin with.
Hmm.
There was an article about a huge mistake that Miami would be making in letting him go. I don't really understand why there was ever a rumor
Yeah.
about Mike McDaniel.
Yeah.
Um, Now, personally, I could have given the rumor earlier on in the year with all of the lack of player safety,
Hmm. True.
back-to-back concussions, letting your team go out there when they shouldn't
True.
be out there,
True.
and the like.
Hmm.
That was rather questionable. But I think for coaching, actual on the field um, performing,
Hmm.
I don't see him going anywhere. I think that he made
Yeah.
really decent strides, and
Hmm.
they
Sure.
could be a very dangerous team.
True. I'd say he's going to stay there. There.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it
The
does depend on what happens next year, but I do see him
yeah.
as being the coach for a while.
True.
I just
Yeah.
don't see it.
It's it's not his fault. The Tua suffered all them concussions there.
It is his fault for the second game
Hmm.
because he never should have been on the field in the first place.
Yeah.
His first hit of concussion, he should have been pulled, and then he
Hmm.
shouldn't have played the following week until he was cleared and good to go. So, in that regard, I do lay that at the feet of Mike McDaniel because he should have protected his player. But that's
Yeah.
also the medical team who should have protected the player and the coordinators
Exactly.
who should have protected the player. So,
Yeah.
no one in Miami did their job with Tua. And I think that
Hmm.
is kind of the big story here. Now, should he lose his job for that? Probably not, because we're going to see what happens going forward. But that's just kind of my personal opinion on the whole situation. Everybody failed to protect
Yeah.
Tua during
True.
those 2 weeks, and
True.
now he's out again. So
Yeah.
it's been a injury riddled year for sure.
Hmm.
And remarkably, they're still doing fairly well records wise and chasing a wild card. All they need to
Yeah.
do is beat the Jets, so we'll see.
Yeah.
So that is going to go ahead and do it for our personal list of coaches on the hot seat. Let us know down in the comments what you guys think, what coaches you think are a lock to stay and a lock to go,
Hmm.
and who do you think is taking over the jobs of Indianapolis, Denver, and Carolina, which are the three
Hmm.
teams who have already fired their coaches and moved on.
True.
Anything you want to wrap up with?
Not a whole lot there, except stay tuned, obviously, for all future videos. Obviously, hit the like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell for all the future videos we do.
Yeah. And also, next week begins the playoffs of the NFL predictions versus SDS is currently fairly far ahead in first place, but we still have the entire postseason to do, and I
Hmm.
am just hoping for a colossal collapse.
Hmm.
Otherwise, GG to you for taking the trophy, and
Hmm.
we will see you all next year for season 4 of the Verses.
Hmm.
But first things first, we got to get through all of the postseason, and I
Hmm.
hope you guys enjoyed our little Black Monday video, and we will catch you guys next time for more.
Thank you, everybody. See you next week.